I've been seeing this going on all across YouTube for a while now, especially in the retro gaming community when they ask about retro game collecting. Is it dying? Is it falling off? For the past 6 to 8 months, I've been seeing this. And I want to give you my thoughts and opinions about this because there's a little bit of truth that it's dying, but there's also a caveat to it. The reason why there's a little bit of truth. Like it's not completely true. And I know a lot of people may say, well, it is or it isn't. No, the reason why it's dying is, long story short, is basically just societal changes within the demographics of age of the gamer. So I'm going to talk about that and give you my thoughts and opinions. So if you made it to this video based on recommendations, I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. I make videos based on just gaming and everything under that umbrella. Give my thoughts and opinions on certain topics, and we're trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the month. Well, I'm sorry, not the end of the month, but the end of the year. Hopefully that happened at the end of the month. That'd be awesome. But by the end of the year, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs, and it'll be all thanks to you guys. So let's get into this right away. Let's go ahead and just jump into this. Listen, the retro video game collecting scene has found its ups and downs. It peaked around, let's say 2017, 2019. It started to get really, really good. Then it kind of was at a point where it was really cool. And then the pandemic came through and everything blew up. And it didn't help matters the people who were actually getting games graded. And that is a whole different subject right there that I'm not getting into because I don't feel like I don't like that side of collecting, and we already see the downfall of that. So I'm not going to talk about that side of it. I'm just talking about gamers who just want to collect games like I do and just want to play the games and have fun with them. Now I'm going to talk about those instances. So with that being said, that side of the collecting could be dying off. That could be, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts and the reasons why. I started collecting way back in like early 2000s. I say like maybe 2000, 2001 or whatever the case may be. And I probably even before then because I still had, consoles back in the 90s that, I just didn't get rid of, but I was a kid. So, my mom just didn't get rid of the consoles. I just took them along with me as I went off to college. So I guess you could say it's been since the 90s. And I actually started buying my own games in 2000, 2001. And I've been doing this for a long time. I have a lot of games. I have this app on my phone called Game Eye where I track what games that I own. It's like an inventory app where you can talk about all the games. I'm not even done yet. And as of right now, I am at 14,000 games and I'm probably about 40% through. And I have a whole bunch of games in here, believe it or not. It's kind of ridiculous. But nevertheless, I know from a person like me, and I'm gonna date myself. I am in my 40s. I'm in my early 40s, and I'm probably like the last. I'm probably like the last group of gamers that's actually going to collect this deeply in a big fashion. You may still have some, Gen Zers and people that are, after Gen Zers and or whatever the case may be, still trying to collect certain games, but I don't think it's going to be as widespread as it is now. I think it's going to be a situation where you have the games that are out there from, let's say, the Odyssey, the NES, the Atari, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, those type of gamers. I don't think those collectors are necessarily going to be your Gen Z and I don't even know the generation after Gen Z is. I don't think you're gonna have those people. You may have those people collecting games, maybe the Xbox 360, the PS3, they may be collecting games around that aspect, but I don't see them actually doing what we did back then. And the way things are going now, where a lot of people would rather just play games digitally, and the way that physical games are basically dying off when it comes to, like let's say Xbox for instance, they don't really care about physical games for the most part. You're just gonna have a situation where we may not have that type of inventory to have a bunch of physical games after the PlayStation 5. Some people are still going to, collect for the Switch. I see that, maybe even the Switch 2, because I think Nintendo still, value, physical copies of games, but even then, I think that's going to be a niche audience. It's not going to be as, and even though collecting games is a niche audience, it's going to be a niche of a niche because not too many people do what we do now as far as collecting games. It seems widespread if you're in the community, but it's not that much. A lot of people still, just they either buy games and play them and take them off their hard drive, or some people even buy games physically, and when they stop playing it, they'll even sell them to somebody, or they will just trade it back to GameStop. Yes, that's still a thing. So I feel like it's going to die off at some point. This is just my opinion, and this is just my opinion. Don't sit here and think I know it all, but it's just my opinion. I think that the retro game collecting community is going to die off once people like me, like the people of my generation, not my generation, but people that's older in my generation, they're basically sitting here like they're getting older now. And, a lot of them are going to, unfortunately, pass away. And they're going to sell off all their stuff. And I don't think the generation behind me, would really be ready to gobble that stuff up and buy it. I just don't see that. That's just my opinion. I don't see that happening. Also, I see where when I get older as well, and I decide to pass away, unfortunately, that's going to happen to everybody. But when that does happen, I already got a setup plan what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably just donate all my stuff to like a museum or something, some place that I know that this stuff will be preserved. I don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with giving my games to somebody, but I feel like this stuff here is a bunch of art. To be honest, I feel like it's a bunch of art and it needs to be preserved and put somewhere where it will be, upheld for a way beyond where I want to go. Like I think what it was, John Hancock, he wanted to run like this museum where all these games go or something like that. Nah. Me personally, I feel like I just want to donate all these consoles and all these games, and I'll just give them someplace where they can be preserved because I know all these games have value, but to me, I don't look at these games like that. These games aren't an investment for me. These games are, they're art to me. To me, I'm not saying that it's, priceless. I know it hasn't, but I just don't want to be put in somebody else's hands to where, something may happen to it. I mean, just to be honest, I just don't trust the next person I will give this stuff to. So I want it to be away and preserved. But the younger generation, they're just not going to be in the. I feel personally, they're just not going to be inclined to do what we do in this generation and the generation before us. You look at places like toys and all these other collectibles that are out there. You don't see kids really being attached to like action figures. They're not really attached to like baseball, basketball, football cards like that. Don't get me wrong, there's some, but it's not as prominent as it was in the early 90s. It's not as prominent as it was in the late 80s. It's just not there. So that's why I feel like, is it dying off? Yeah, but I think it's dying off just because of just nature itself, not because people are, just want to throw away the hobby. I just think the collection will be in a different form. I would not be surprised when you start seeing a lot of people carrying around hard drives, a bunch of a bunch of digital games on their consoles and using that as saying like, hey, this is what I got. This is what it is. I just don't see it being anything beyond that because I've seen how things change. Nobody is sitting here with action figures. I ain't gonna say nobody because I know somebody in the comment section gonna look at me crazy. Not many people are sitting here with action figures of, Ninja Turtles or whatever the case may be. My son, he's 5 years old, and to be honest with you, he has like no attachment to the. He likes them, but he doesn't want the action figures. He'll watch them on TV, but he doesn't want to play with them. Like he'll play with like monster trucks or whatever. Kids. Nowadays, I notice that a lot of young boys love monster trucks, and he'll play with that. But even that, I don't see that being a big thing to collect because like people don't collect like toys like that no more. Maybe it's prominent because I don't really be into that space, but I don't see it like how it was earlier when I was growing up, where older men that was older than me actually like set up like their action figures, or they'll set up their Lionel trains, or remember the race car tracks or whatever, or they used to set all that stuff up because you rarely see that stuff now. And I feel like video games are going to be in that same space. I mean, do I think it's a bad thing? No, I just see how technology changes, and a lot of people are already moving on to like digital copies of games, and I just don't see. I don't. I just put it like this, and I get out. Of, I'm gonna get out of here. I don't see my son actually trying to go back to collect PlayStation 2 games. He's 5 years old. I don't see my son or anybody of his age going back to uh collect PS3 games or PS4 games. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong because he has like no. I mean, I have a whole bunch of Switch physical copies of games, and I know him and a few other kids that's in his circle, and you know they just have no interest of putting the cartridge in their Switch. They just want the game on their handheld like right now, you know. And I find it sad, but you know that's just how they roll. So I don't see too many kids out here trying to get any collect copies of the next Switch that comes out or the PlayStation 6, the Xbox. We don't even know if they're going to have physical copies of their console as far as disc. So I just don't know where these kids that are probably not really attached to like the generation games, like from the PlayStation 4 on down, I don't see them being that attached to do what I'm doing with all of these games in here. I just don't see it. So I feel at the end of the day that it is dying, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that's just how technology rolls. You know, people don't have CDs anymore. You know, they rarely use CDs. You know, some people rarely even use iPods. You know, remember iPods and Zooms? People just listen to music on their phone now. You know, it's just I don't know. It's just that's just the take that I'm getting at. You know, and like I said, it's not a bad thing because I love collecting games. I love it, but I just don't see the next generation really getting into it like we did. I just don't see it. So give me your thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty sure I'm getting a lot of mixed reviews on this video, but that's what it's here for. I want to interact with you guys in the comment section. I will be giving feedback as I see it. You know, anybody give me feedback, I'm going to respond. And yeah, I just think it was interesting because I see a lot of people talking about it, but that's just my thoughts and opinions, man. I think the collecting is just not going to be there. It's not going to be there like it used to be. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.